Sorry, guys. Okay, it should be recording. All right, so right now, the comprehensive plan timeline this month has been all about taking the comp plan to all the different committees and commissions in the city and getting really great feedback from all of them. And then the planning staff, one of which is here, I'd like to introduce Daphne Shu is a member of the planning department, one of my colleagues, and she's on the meeting right now. And she and I and Abby Attoon and Mark Opitz on the planning department will collate all the comments together from the commissions, and then we will be taking a summary of that to the plan commission meeting on, I believe, October, is it the 26th or 27th, Daphne? I think it might be the 26th.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll present the summary of the comments, and then the plan commission will give us their comments and feedback about that, and then we will have not too long, but a few weeks to do final revisions to the comp plan. And then I'm not exactly sure as it stands right now, because it's somewhat changing, how quickly the comp plan will be adopted as it goes through the city process with council. But we're nearing, we're sort of in the middle, closer to the end of getting all of our feedback from the commissions on the different chapters in our comp plan. And our lead for cities data collection is what I'm trying to shift a lot of my staff time towards, because I'd really like to get our entire lead for cities submittal done by the end of this year and submit that to the USGBC so that they can look it over and provide comments, and then we can hopefully get our certification in early 2021 and then celebrate. Our solar project, the update on that is that we now have all the dates set for the entire process of the solar bidding, and we're going to advertise for putting solar on the 3 municipal buildings. And for some of you who haven't been on the meetings in the past, we're putting solar panels on our Middleton Operations Center, a lot of them on that. It's actually the recycling center. We're putting solar on the top of that, and also Lakeview Park Shelter, and then also on the EMS building. So 3 buildings will have solar hopefully by the end of March or April of next spring. And the bidding process, can take a while. You have to allow ample time. And because we're required to select the lowest bidder, we had to be really careful with how we wrote the bid specs to make sure that we get exactly what we want from the companies and from the solar installers. But we have that finalized, and now we're just holding off until the beginning of January so we can access the Focus on Energy funding, the grant funding for that, to move forward. So we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be great. And it should mean that the Lakeview Park Shelter will have 100% of its power from the solar energy. So anyone who uses that building will be using 100% clean energy in the future. And then the last thing I was going to mention is that we will have a guest speaker next month, Allison Madison from the Metropolitan Sewerage District. She's going to talk about salt reduction in the city, both in your water softeners and how you use salt as a resident, and also how the city can reduce their salt. I'm doing a training this month, at the end of this month or early next month on that, as well as other staff members in the city. And hopefully we can celebrate some of those successes. And we've also reached out to the Public Service Commission, the PSC, about adding water softener rebates to our water program that currently exists, so that we can use that pot of money for residents to get some money back if they get a more efficient water softener. And that's still in the works. We haven't met with her yet, but Abby has touched base with her, so we're trying to set up a meeting about that. And that is all for the staff updates. Does anyone have any questions on those?
Kelly, I have a question about the U.S. Green Building Council. You had an offer that seemed too good to refuse. Did you have a chance to follow up with the gentleman who made the offer and find out more about what he was truly offering?
I just drafted an email to Mahesh, who's the CEO of the United States Green Building Council, who was interested in perhaps funding some upskilling and credentialing for small business, small contractors, especially Black, Indigenous, people of color owned businesses in Middleton to do weatherization and energy efficiency projects in affordable housing units. And I wanted to speak with Abby Corso, who works with Elevate Energy and also with Sustain Dane, and they're running a program to do weatherization and energy efficiency projects. And they've also done a lot of work with the new green economy and helping with job creation. And so she provided me a couple of really great resources from their work in Detroit and also a project they did with ComEd, and I think in Illinois, perhaps. And so I'm reading through those, and I just wanted to get a little bit more information before I really try to dig into what we could do with what Mahesh has offered. I haven't heard back from him yet on specifics, but I just emailed him, and also the USGBC reps for the Midwest. And so that's all like very much in the works right now. So hopefully I'll have a better update next month on that.
Great. Anyone else have questions for Kelly?
Quick, simple question, Kelly. What's the deadline you want to have for any comp plan comments or feedback in case there are things that come up after today or tonight?
Tonight would be the best because we're getting so many comments from so many commissions that it's hard to keep track of singular comments from committee members. One thing that the planning department would really appreciate is to have a set of recommendations that is a consensus from each committee instead of trying to wrangle, like 60 individual comments from people. It's helpful to know that a committee agrees on certain things they'd like to see changed or edited, so that we don't get into a battle between individuals and it's more about committee consensus. There will be a public hearing before anything is adopted, so there's also going to be a chance for members of the public and committee members obviously as well, who could come to the public hearing and provide feedback if you've read through it and have additional comments or questions or edits you'd like to make. So this isn't the last time that you can comment on it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Kelly,
our goal today then is to come up with consensus recommendations for the plan.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If there's major things, it'd be great if the committee could vote on it or provide consensus. But if it's things like on page 62, I think the wording here, if you switch these words around, it would read better. Like you can always email me that or Abby. We're constantly getting sort of edits on grammar and small details. It's really what I need from the committee is the policy ideas. Anything that's major policy change would have to be something that would come from the entire committee. If it's simply word changes or typos or some graphic you'd like to see changed, you can definitely email me that in the next week or two.
Kelly, on that point, did you receive the comments, the consolidated comments that Dick and Deb and I put together?
I did, yes. But I have not gone through them as much as I should have by this meeting.
Okay, I'm just wondering because that is the reason we put those all together is to get at what you were just saying, that it's easier to incorporate comments when you're getting consolidated and consensus comments from everybody. Without the members of the committee having a chance to review that document. And Spencer, I don't know if you were able to add your comments to that list. But, I'm trying to think, some of these were definitely, word choice kind of questions, but others could fall within the realm of policy. So, but we'll talk about that when we get there. I just was curious about, whether tonight really is the deadline for getting this, or can the members take a few days to review what Dick and Deb and I put together? we'll have to talk about that. I also had a question. You mentioned there's going to be a public hearing. Is there only going to be one? Because this is a pretty, I mean, it is literally a comprehensive plan, and it just seems like one hearing is maybe not enough.
Maybe Daphne can answer that question.
Yeah, so as of this time, I believe there's only going to be one. There's going to be we'll have like a class 1 hearing notice sent, so it has to be at least 30 days before. And so the date of the public hearing hasn't been set yet, and we're still debating if it'll be a plan commission hearing and a common council hearing, or if we'll just do one. We do know that plan commission and common council approval is required to pass the whole thing. So, this could take, as of right now, like our most optimistic timeline is to have that hearing sometime in December. But as of right now, it's probably gonna, as Kelly mentioned, be pushed back a while as we're getting more and more comments.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Kelly? And even though I already asked questions about the comp plan, if your questions are about the comp plan, let's bring it up later in the agenda so that we can get to our guest speakers. All right, I'm not hearing any other questions, so thank you, Kelly, for your update. And next, we're going to turn to the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District resolution to address global warming through clean energy, waste reduction, sustainable choices, and environmental education. And Kelly, I don't know if you want to bring up the resolution on your screen, or just drop if someone could drop the link into the chat so that folks can pull it up. I know we've got Lori Ames. I'm sorry, my setup here, I can see Kelly's screen, but I can't see all the people who are here. I see Ms. Ames now. Welcome, Lori Ames. Would you like to just introduce yourself for the benefit of those of us who haven't yet had the pleasure to meet you?
Sure. My name is Lori Eames. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Operations for the district. I've been in the district since 2012, but I've held different roles, and I've been in this role for the last year and a half.
Well, great. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. As you know from your correspondence with Kelly, the resolution is something of great interest to this committee. We want to do all we can to support the students who are really taking a leadership role on climate change and renewable energy. One of our tasks as the Sustainability Committee is to help Middleton achieve its renewable energy goals. And frankly, the city cannot do it without a major player like the school district. So we really rely on the school district being one of our partners in trying to achieve 100% renewable energy. And I know we're we just had a presentation. Deb, you were on that, and so was Kelly. We saw the Friends of Pheasant Branch Conservancy had a presentation from Perry Hibner and Elena, whose last name escapes me. And they talked about what it means to be a green ribbon recognized district, and we're proud of that in Middleton. I've only been on this committee for I guess the past 5 months, and I mean, it comes up all the time how Middleton is a leader, sets a great example for others to follow, the first in many ways to do different things. And so it seems to me, and I think I can speak for other members of the committee when I say the committee would very much like to see the district pass the resolution that the students are proposing. We would like to help make that happen. And that's really why we wanted to meet with you to find out, what do the students still need to do in order to get the resolution on the school board agenda? And we recognize, I've got a freshman in high school, it's kind of like he's a freshman in high school. It's hard to say because it's all remote learning. It's, you know, we completely understand and appreciate all the work that the school district is doing to try to continue to educate our children. It's got to be just a mind-boggling task and extremely difficult, you know, and we're all facing our own challenges because of the pandemic. But we recognize that you all have a lot on your plates. So if you could help us understand, you know, what remains to be done and how can we help facilitate this process and help these students move forward with the resolution?
Well, I think many of the students, as well as I actually think some of the people from the committee, have reached out to the board to express their support of passing a resolution, and the board has heard that. And the board has just been very clear that they're willing to take a look at it, but they want to wait until after the new year. So I don't think there's anything that anybody needs to do right now short of waiting until the board is ready to take on looking at the resolution. So I'm expecting that I'll be putting it either on the finance committee in January, February, depending upon where the board wants to place it. They'll take it to the finance committee first because that's an opportunity for them to review, ask questions, and then when they are ready, they'll recommend it to the full board. So I don't think there's anybody on the board that isn't supportive of passing a resolution. They just are not ready based on what's on their plate right now and what their agendas have on them as a result of COVID to take this on until the new year.
Okay, thank you for that. And just a process question, I guess, since I am, you know, new to the school board procedures, is it customary for a resolution like this to go before the finance committee just to identify any financial ramifications?
They would be looking at it from the financial picture to make sure. One of the biggest things that the board's always worried about is making sure that they're conscious of the decisions that they make now, that they have somewhat of a plan to know that they're not tying the hands of future boards. And so they're very careful about that. And so that would be the first thing that would happen, was that they would take it through the finance committee, make sure that they're feeling comfortable with how everything is written before it gets recommended to the full board.
Okay. And that's typically the process for anything that might have a financial impact. Okay. Members? Deb, you're muted. Nope, I can't tell. Deb, you're on mute.
I was
There
not
you go.
Friends of Pheasant Branch, which I just came from. So, hi, Lori. Nice to see you. Thank
you. Deb.
There are 3 communities, 3 school boards that have already passed resolutions in the state of Wisconsin: Madison, Green Bay, and Eau Claire.
Right.
And we took a look at those resolutions, and they're very simple. They really don't have the plan of action. They just have the resolution saying that we need to do this, and the school boards passed it. So I'm just wondering, Middleton sounds like it's much more of a plan to achieve the goal of the resolution versus just being the resolution and saying we want to pass this 100% renewable energy by 2050 resolution. So am I looking at this wrong, or is that kind of the way the district is seeing this? They need the plan before they can decide.
I think they just like the opportunity to review the language, so that if they're passing a resolution that says we will be, that's a different thing than we want to be, because there is that financial implication. So I know that they are going to want to look at that to feel comfortable before they pass it on to the full board.
Okay, and I had a couple other questions. One came from last Thursday. This is when Perry Hibner spoke about the green schools, or green schools in the district, I guess is. Anyway, he had said that Northside is readying their green ribbon application. Is this happening this year? Are they?
No, not this year.
No. Okay. All right. And then the other thing is, do you have a company that acts as like your energy managers the way you had in the past? Is there one now?
We do our own energy management. We have that energy management system that you're familiar with that we've used all along. Through the Green Schools National Network, we're pulling together our information so that we can do some comparisons to other entities that are similar to ours, in terms of just being able to benchmark how we're performing compared to other schools, other educational institutions. And that's what the Green Schools National Network is helping us with.
Okay. And you're still doing
So are you using, sorry, this is Samara, are you using EPA Energy Star portfolio manager to do that benchmarking then? Do you know?
We are still working through all the details, but we do the Energy Star program, so we are Energy Star rated. But we are just pulling all of our information between water, energy, waste, gas, everything into one portfolio to now start looking at how we're going to do that comparison. And we are just starting through that process, so I can't tell you a whole lot of information yet.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff to pull together. I know some school districts around the state are a bit ahead of you and have pulled that together and then publish it on their school district website so that members of the public can look, and it's usually a month or two delay, but can go back and look and see what each building is consuming. Do you guys have plans to do that in your district?
Yes, we haven't done it so far because we're in the process of going out for bid for our website. And so the whole thing is being retooled and redesigned. But yes, the plan is that we'll have a full-blown sustainability area that would include our different utility information.
Just wanted to remind everyone, and Kelly, I guess I could use your guidance on this. What's the protocol for public comments and questions during the meeting itself? Do we have one? I totally appreciate your comments, Samara, but since we do have a lot to get through, I want to make sure that the members of the committee have an opportunity first.
I have a question for Mrs. Ames. I was wondering how you felt. I know you're really, really busy, like how you felt, what you think that we're going to be able to get accomplished this year, and if, like, as a student, how we could help that process move more smoothly once we get to it, if you know what I mean.
Are you specifically talking about the resolution, Daphne, or are you talking about something else?
Oh, just the resolution.
I don't think that there's, I mean, other than your show of support, which you've done, I think it's really about just having the time to get in front of the board and to have a discussion about it. Right now, their almost sole focus is on what we're trying to do to determine how we're going to open up, how we're going to open up safely, if we're going to open up, what that looks like. And so they have not looked at much of anything other than information that's related to COVID. They are all supportive of a resolution. I had an initial conversation back before we all went into this new mode, and to a T, all of them were very supportive of passing a resolution.
What do you think we need to do, like, before we get it to the board, if you know what I mean? Because last year I remember we were working on getting baselines and like drafting.
That's the information that we've been working on in this last year, during these last few months. So we'll be prepared to provide that information to them. So other than continuing to show your support, I know you have a whole bunch of student signatures already. And students that are interested, and being available to help answer the questions that they might have, which we talked about when we would go in front of the finance committee, that we would have the students be connected to that as well. So I don't know what else I would have you do right now.
Hey, this is Dick Lathrop. I had a couple questions. One, I'm wondering, if we had more community support to get at least action on this done with an assurance that it would be dealt with at board meetings in January and February. It feels like we were debating this a year and a half ago, and then now we're in COVID land, and of course I understand all the challenges with that. I just feel like that the school district has such an opportunity to lead this community by example, by education, and that the community, I think, has a strong will to see something done about climate change, and to not have the school district be a leader in it. It feels like we've getting the wagon moving along, but we haven't hooked the horse up. And then the second thing I want to point out is that Kelly, can you scroll down through so you see where the resolutions are? One of the later ones mentions about curricula for education and things, and it feels like that this could be definitely taken up by the school district of say, hey, we want to put priorities on educating our kids about we'll educate their sustainability be embedded in the educational model, environmental education be embedded in every year of school. It feels like that ought to be something that is fairly non-controversial to be able to get accepted, and rather than have the whole thing get bogged down in whether we're going to make 25% by some time or whatever, whether we couldn't get the school board support to even get this educational program recognized for the need of it. So those are two things, but I think the community support I'm betting would be there. And it feels like somehow, whether the school board or district wants it, the community would probably, with the right kind of direction, we could be able to generate that support, which might energize the process.
I'm not sure if you're looking for a response from me or not. I can tell you the board is very supportive of a resolution. They're supportive of not only the operational side of it, but the equity side of it, as well as the curriculum side of it. And that I highly expect that they will take this up after the new year. They are meeting on December 7th to decide what happens second semester for our students. And we usually only have one, maybe two board meetings in December, but it's always moved up. So the first opportunity after the new year is our finance committee in January. And at this point, I am planning to put that on the agenda. The only reason that would not happen would be if the board elected to put something else on that agenda, and that has not been shared with me. So as a community, you're welcome to, whether it's get signatures, generate support, but I do believe that they are very supportive, and I do believe that they will pick this up in January, as they mentioned to both the students and those other individuals who did reach out to the board to express their support.
I'm wondering about the, you say the finance committee, I'm not familiar enough with the school board to know, are there other committees that work on educational curricula or policy where the recommendation for, you know, the sustainability curricula could be addressed separately? Because it doesn't feel like that's a finance thing as much as a different arm of the function of the school board.
There is no other committees besides the agenda setting committee.
I have a question about the, you know, I understand, of course, now during the time of COVID, why this is not a high priority. But as Dick mentioned, this is an old resolution. In fact, one of the things, Daphne, that I know you'll have to do is update some of the goals because it's referring to 2020. So that seems to me it's at least a couple years old. Is there a reason why the board did not prioritize this in the past before COVID?
So we started talking about the resolution, I don't know if it was in the fall or if it was right after the new year, and I can't remember, Daphne, because there's too
I
many
think it was
things.
in the fall when we first reached
Right,
out.
and we approached the board, and the board wanted us to identify some of the baseline information before it came. And then as we were starting to put together the plans and start to gather that information is when everything went dark in March. And so once March hit, that changed the capacity of all of the individuals to be able to gather the information that the board wanted, and for the board's capacity to take on the additional activity. And so that's why they have indicated that they are willing to take this up at the beginning of January, or after the new year.
Okay. Any other questions,
Yes, I do.
comments?
We were very excited to hear that the district purchased 1 megawatt of solar energy from MG&E. And I was just wondering, because I know that there are solar panels on different schools for hot water heating, et cetera, et cetera. So do you know, with that 1 megawatt, what % of electricity is now generated through renewables for the district?
I don't have that right off the top of my head, Deb.
Okay.
Okay. One of the resolved clauses talks about creating a sustainability committee to push forward and oversee the resolution. Do you know, does the district currently, or does Middleton High School or the district already have a sustainability committee or something that has that charge?
We started last year and created a structure from which we could work, which we had a main committee, which included a number of people in the various arms, let's say energy, waste, and an education component. We had different arms, and we had subcommittees, because to have a number of people in a room trying to discuss everything at one time is really difficult. So we were going to have a representative from each of those areas, which most of them were students, and one staff from the district on each of the subcommittees would then come together and talk as a head committee. So it was a head committee with the offshoots of the various arms. And that was the structure that we set up before everything went dark.
Great. Well, I like hearing that. And I would just say, we really do want to be a partner and help the district in any way we can as a committee. And I think it would be great to have a connection, and possibly, I know Daphne serves on this committee, and I'm sure she's involved in whatever the school district version is, but we would welcome the opportunity to have one of our members, one of our voting members, non-student members, participate maybe on that head committee, because we too are working on our sustainable city plan, and I think it would be a good opportunity to coordinate on our goals. Is that any comment, Lori?
It's certainly something we can look into, because you're right, we're both part of the community, so and we want to work together, so certainly.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right.
I'd like to
This is
thank
Katie.
Lori.
I'm sorry. Kelly, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, Katie.
I just wanted to thank Lori for coming out tonight and being part of the meeting. I know that teachers are having one hell of a time right now. So for you to take the extra time, I know is a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. I was happy to.
Yes, thank you very much, Lori. We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Kelly, was there anything that you were going to add before I head out?
No, I mean, basically just thank you, just echoing what Katie said. The last like plug I would make, which I don't feel that I need to, I just feel that it's an important point, and I like to say it, is that when we wrote our city resolution in 2018, it really kickstarted a lot of our initiatives in the city, and it's been such a positive, it's been something that we've used for grants, to leverage grants, and we sort of went about it by writing the resolution and then getting a very large grant from the office, the State Energy Office of Innovation, to come up with a plan to meet the benchmarks and the timeline that we had already written down in our resolution. So we didn't really have a plan to start. It's not that we didn't think long and hard about the goals and about the timeline for that, but I think really having the resolution is what got us the grant, which enabled us to write a detailed plan. So that was really helpful, just food for thought as the school board deliberates next year, early next year.
That's great.
And the one thing I've been sitting on, basically, Kelly, I think you did a great job of bringing up that setting an aspirational goal and affirming that creates the direction and the opportunity for momentum and synergies to occur, to move, and trying to figure, if we would have sat and said, we're not going to do anything until we get this all figured out and figure out all the, down to the last penny, I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are today. And another side or another perspective to take on this is that nature bats last. What we need to do as a community and as a society is being called forth by realities that are impacting us day by day as climate change impacts unfold. So we can say, well, we can't afford that, but if it's important enough and big enough, we're going to do it. And we've had to do it with COVID-19, and COVID-19 is just the little leagues compared to the impacts and challenges of climate change. So that's my exhortational pitch.
I got a quick point. Well, a couple things. Again, we might be interested as a committee to have a chance to speak as an advocate at this finance committee board meeting that you're thinking about for January or February. Is there an opportunity for a group like the city committee to be able to come to that meeting and make our position known? Is this an open meeting? How are they held?
It is a board noticed meeting. Right now, everything is by Zoom, exactly as you're doing. Their normal board meetings, they do not allow they allow public comment, but it's done by letters and things that are sent in. They don't have the citizen, public open citizen comments during the meeting. So I'm not quite sure. The board is going to be talking about whether or not they're going to continue in a Zoom situation or whether they're going to start having the meetings face to face. So I can't tell you at this point whether or not that would be open for public participation during the meeting. It's going to depend upon what the board decides to do moving forward.
Okay, well, it would seem like then if our committee decides to come up with some kind of recommendation to the school board to support this resolution, that we could do this and send it off prior to these meetings and early in the year. And the second point I wanted to make, I'm seeing some chat comments about questions of things that we as a committee, as we write our sustainability plan, would you be receptive to us listing a bunch of questions of things that we feel need to be answered to help us look at sustainability for the community, which, like I said before, the school board is a big part of it.
Sure.
So, I'm sure Daphne and others have been asking questions, but maybe because we're talking about this as a bigger sustainability plan for the city and the school board school district is a big part of the city, not entirely, I might suggest to Lisa and Kelly that we think about some questions that people have already raised, and we probably have many more that we would like to make sure get answered as soon as possible this next winter, so that we would have that information to include in our sustainability plan, which I'm not sure of the timetable, Kelly, that you were thinking of, but certainly we'd want that information for our plan, I would think. So my question is, or maybe not a question, just saying, I would like to recommend to our own committee that we come up with a list of questions that we could forward on to you and ask the school district to provide, because we feel it's relevant to our overall sustainability goals and our plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you send me the list of questions that you want answered, I can certainly work on getting that information for your plan.
And Lori,
Like,
do you have the chat open? Because there's a couple of suggestions here. There's a grant. Did you see?
I was just writing those things down. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, great.
I can
Okay.
put those in the minutes as well, and then send them to Lori as well.
Okay.
that'd be great. All right. Well, thanks again, Lori. You're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but we'll understand if you need to move on to other
I've been on
tasks.
meetings since 4 o'clock this afternoon, so I'm ready to call her quits.
All right. Well, enjoy your evening, and thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. We really
Thank
appreciate
you, Lori.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks.
it. Bye-bye.
More later.
All right, moving on from one student-related sustainability activity to another. We've got approval of support by our committee for the Dane County Youth Environmental Committee. And Daphne, would you like to speak to this?
More than what I said last time?
Well, I was just like a refresher.
Okay, so the Dane County Youth Environmental Committee is just a kind of like a coalition of over 30 students across the county, and we just meet monthly and we discuss like what each of our schools have been doing. And one thing that we've been doing is just asking different organizations to partner with us. We have, let's see, over seven partners, and there's no like monetary exchange or anything. It's just like a show of support and that like we're willing to work together, I guess. So that's it.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And Kelly, can you scroll down to show us who some of the other, how the supporters are recognized, or the partners rather?
I don't know if
Keep
they're,
going.
okay, oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, there they are.
Names and logos.
Names and logos. So we have a name, but we don't have a logo. Is this something we would need to recommend? I mean, is it for us as a committee to become a partner, or do we want to recommend that the Common Council actually make the city of Middleton a partner? I don't see any municipalities.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know which one it would be. I didn't really think about that. It could be the City of Middleton logo, but I don't know if we would have to put like City of Middleton Sustainability Committee next to it.
Kelly, do you?
It sounds to me like, wouldn't we want to do that? Put the City of Middleton's logo and then Sustainability Committee?
Yeah, I mean, if the recommendation from the committee is something like that, that the committee recommends to support this group, and if we're using the logo, then I can ask Mike Davis if we need to then take that to the city and get, you know, if we took it to council, we could perhaps get broader support. I suppose we should have a backup plan for if the city doesn't necessarily want to have the whole city supporting it, or if it would get bogged down in a 2-month process, if just the committee can support it, and if we could use the logo or not, you know, those are questions I can't answer now, but we would still need tonight to vote approval of support from the Sustainability Committee.
If you look, University of Wisconsin logo is there, but it's the Wisconsin Energy Institute. It isn't the whole university. It's just the institute, but that's their logo, you know, university logo. Wouldn't it be, I would think it'd be similar to that if they let us use the city logo, but I'm just,
Right.
be similar.
I mean, for the sake of simplicity and expediency, I think if we as a committee say, yes, we as a committee want to support, put the name of the committee there. And if Mike Davis says, oh yeah, sure, use the logo as long as you include the name of the committee, great. If he is worried about it, we can just have our name go and maybe in some future meeting come up with an actual logo for the committee. But I agree with Kelly. I'd be concerned about getting it bogged down in more bureaucracy than necessary to give Daphne and the youth.
We had somebody actually draw us a logo
support.
probably about 10 years ago. There's a gecko or something out there that the sustainability committee had designed years ago.
Oh, really? That's funny, because we were talking about, you know, the branding, sustainability for the website and the educational displays. And so whenever that activity takes place, we can work in our little sustainable Middleton logo thing and update this. But does somebody want to make a motion to lend our support as a committee to the concept of what the students are trying to do?
It sounds good. I'll so move that.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Nice second. Multiple seconds.
I beat you, Kermit.
Yeah,
All
okay,
right, Dick,
fine. You win.
second. All right, members, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any members opposed? The same signal. All right, the ayes have it. So Kelly, next steps for that one then will be for you to check and see, do we need to get approval to put the City of Middleton's logo on there? And if so, how do we make that happen?
Okay.
But it'll be, the logo will be attached to the Sustainability Committee, City of Middleton, however you word it on the website.
Okay, yep.
At a minimum, if we can't get the logo, we can always put our name with a link to our webpage on there.
Yep,
Exactly. I concur.
I like it. Thank you, Daphne, for bringing this to our attention, and let us know how we can help. Okay, then we move on to the comprehensive plan at 7:30. So Kelly, it says you and the members of the planning department will give a brief presentation. Do we still have the members of the planning department here? If so, thank you for staying with.
We do. I'm just doing my screen share. I'm still so bad at this. I can't believe it.
I think you're doing a great job.
Every time I
Kelly,
go
if
to
you-
screen share, I get nervous about it. I do.
Yeah, if you could let me share my screen, I have a presentation.
Is it this one?
Sounds like a good
I
idea.
don't know if it's the same one that you have up there.
Okay, maybe I should let yours, because I don't know if mine's as up to date as yours is.
Oh no, yours is probably way more. Oh, okay.
I can share it again if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead and just share yours. Yeah, I can just go
Okay.
off your screen.
All right. Do you see it now?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Daphne, did you want to give this presentation, or do you want me to try to do it?
I can go ahead and do it since it is more related to the comp plan stuff. So yeah, I'm Daphne. Nice to meet everyone. Other Daphne, I really like your name.
Wait, I thought you were the other Daphne.
Yeah, and so this is our planning department. Kelly and I are the newest members, and I'm sure many of you guys already know Abby and Mark. And so you can go to the next slide, Kelly. So this is a comprehensive plan. It's updated. It's supposed to be updated about every 10 years. And so it's basically, to summarize everything on the screen, it's not a regulation of any sort. Basically, it's a Wisconsin statute, the Wisconsin Comprehensive Planning Law. Basically, that law just says every city has to come up with a comprehensive plan. It doesn't tell us, exactly what is supposed to go into it, but every city is supposed to have one. And it's basically just a guide for the city, going forward into the future. It provides a sort of vision for what we want to see in the physical, social, and economic development of the entire community. And so you can go to the next slide, Kelly. And so the statute requires certain elements, and so those elements you can see on the left side. And basically they say you just have to include all of these elements into your plan. And so with the city of Middleton, we've basically copied a lot of what the elements are. There are some things that we've shuffled around, and so as you can see, like the agriculture, natural, and cultural resources in the state required are kind of split between land use, green city, and the character chapter. And that's just based on how we've discussed our goals. We've reshuffled them into these chapters for our plan. And so basically, as I said before, it's not, a regulation on, how we're gonna go, every single, goal, strategy, action that we've created is, the law once we've, enacted it. Basically, it's just a guidance. There are several parts that do have to follow, exactly how we've, once we adopt the plan, it has to follow exactly. And so those are a lot of our mapping. So our zoning ordinance, land use, shoreland and wetland ordinances, and subdivision ordinances. And so the process began before Kelly and I joined the city. It began about 5 years ago. And then just last year, they decided, it's been taking a while and they've made a lot of changes as they were writing the update. And so they decided to completely overhaul it. We've had a lot of public input sessions already. And then we've brought the plan to Plan Commission a couple times, or more than a couple, 24 times already. So it's been an evolving document this whole time. And so going forward, in October, the Plan Commission referred it out to 10 committees, and then we've been encouraging everyone who has been part of other committees also, if they want their committees to see it, to also, bring it to those committees. So there are these 10 committees that the Plan Commission referred to, and then we've also added, we've made presentations to the Tourism Committee, the Commission on Aging, and the Library Board as well. So all in all, we have 13 committees look at it, but we are, open to giving more presentations as well. And so basically continuing on in the process, so we're gathering a lot of feedback now from all the committees. And basically, as Kelly said before, if you guys have, edits like grammatical things, or, you have a better graphic that you would like us to use for a certain section with like more updated data or whatever like that, feel free to send that to either Kelly or Abby. And, we can just take care of that, as we're updating. But any major policy recommendations that you have, we would really like for you as a committee, to give one recommendation back to the Plan Commission, and then the Plan Commission will decide ultimately if those recommendations are included or not. And so as of this moment, staff aren't making any other major policy changes, and all changes like that will go through Plan Commission. And then there are 2 more sections that no one has seen yet, and that's the introduction and the implementation sections. We're still working on those. And we've already got a lot of feedback from commissions on, how we can go forward or what they would like to see included in those sections as well. And so those will also, need to be reviewed by Plan Commission and any other commissions that would like to see it. And then finally, as I said before, this is an optimistic time frame. So originally when we had first brought this to the committees, we wanted to have our official public hearing in December. It would need a 30-day notice. So probably by the end of November, we would have to put out a notice in order for this to happen. Right now, it's probably not going to happen in December, but after we hear from all the committees and go through all the revisions, we'll have this public hearing, and then afterwards we would get Plan Commission and Common Council approval in order to adopt the plan. I think that's it for the presentation. So if you guys have any, comments, questions, feel free to ask them now.
Thank you for that presentation, Daphne, and Kelly for your capable screen sharing. I have some questions, but since I reviewed the plan, I just wondered if any of the other members have things they would like to bring up. Any questions? I'll reiterate my question about there being just the one hearing, or the one opportunity for the public to have provide comments in a hearing setting on the plan itself. I think it's great that there were 17 scoping meetings to get public input. That's terrific, but that almost underscores the need to have maybe more than one meeting to get comments on the final plan. Just a suggestion. I know, Daphne, it's not your doing to limit it to one. Kelly had mentioned when in just briefing our little subgroup on the process, she mentioned that it is likely this plan will be updated every year. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so we plan to have updates about every year. We're focusing mostly on gathering data and mapping in those yearly updates, just to see if anything has changed in that sense. But yeah, every year we plan to read through the document, see if everything is still applicable or relevant. And so if there are additional changes or things we want to add to the plan, it would go through an amendment process.
Okay. And Daphne, is there a process for making sure that specific actions or strategies are only addressed once, or that one section is where it would be primary? Like I'll bring up the bicycle and pedestrian plan because I think it shows up in 3 different places, and it seems unnecessarily complicated to do it that way instead of designating who's got the authority for updating that plan. That's the chapter that covers updates to the plan.
Yeah, definitely. So there are definitely sections that reference the same things over and over, and so we're still in the middle of editing all of that, since they were kind of like, we all kind of wrote separate sections and thought it was important for our section, so we just kind of put it in there. But through this editing process as well, it'll, like the bike ped plan, I think our community campus plan was in several different places. Those will all probably just be in one place, and then in the other section where it was mentioned before, it'll have just kind of like an appendix or a link to the bike ped plan or whatever it was referencing before.
Okay.
I just had a quick comment about the number 1 here. Page numbering, I figured out the reason there was inconsistencies in it is that Kelly had added it to a packet of stuff that came out. And so the packet had its own page numbering, which I think was at the bottom center. And then the page numbers of the plan itself, the draft plan, were listed somewhere else. And so like the example here, 81 was probably the page number of the plan, and 89 was the page number of the packet, which include the plan. So I think that was why that inconsistency showed up as far as what we were looking at to review.
Yeah, that's gotten every committee. So sorry, I'm really sorry about that. It's happened at every meeting I've gone to.
That's okay, but I'm trying to think now what number we used.
I was
you know.
pretty plain about using the right page number of the plan because I figured out that's why the other page number was on there. So the page numbers that I had listed farther down were all related to the plan. I think it would be
Okay.
helpful to, if we're going to do any more work on this at all, to just have a document that is the plan alone with its own page numbering and not have it, you know, added to the end of meeting minutes and other stuff.
Sure.
I think
Well,
that,
and I was going to say, Kelly, as you're going through and reviewing, if you find that you can't find a reference on something that is in blue, which are my comments, just subtract 8 from, from the page number, because I honestly can't remember right now whether I went with the middle or the right number.
Okay.
Which would have been the right number, but
I
Is
thought,
there,
wait,
go ahead.
if Dick is correct, so is Debbie. Because I figured out how he was seeing the page number. Because, yeah, I saw 3 different page numbers when I was looking at it. So,
yep. Also, I noted that some of the sections, Daphne, say will, Middleton will, or, you know, department will, and others said should. So I wasn't sure whether that was just accidental or do those terms really mean something in the statute.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And it's been brought up in other meetings as well that we should take a look at it and, you know, standardize it across the board. You know, anything that says will doesn't necessarily mean it is, you know, regulatory in any way, but yeah, we definitely need to standardize that wording.
Okay. And
This is
then
Chris.
also,
I would, oh, go ahead,
go ahead.
Lisa.
No, you go ahead, Chris.
2 things I wanted to ask or mention. Just as I was reading through it, I think once you get all of the pieces put together, it'd probably be a benefit to have somebody who hasn't read it at all just read through it for you to provide some just grammatical, not changing anything, but just similar to what Lisa was talking about, like, is it will or should, or are you going to use, you know, serial commas versus not serial commas? How are you addressing some of that? Like I even saw, you know, nonprofit done different ways, or, you know, different words, same word spelled differently or used differently in different sections. And then my other question was more for the committee members that worked on this. Will we get a chance to, will the other committee members get a chance to see what your feedback was?
I think Kelly's showing it on the screen.
we're looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send this out. I thought I sent this out because it was it's the one thing that needed to happen. But if I didn't, then I'll send it right out after the meeting.
And if you did, I might have missed it, so I apologize if I did.
yeah, so I understand that, Kelly, you received these comments that I guess 3 of us have made, but it's not formally you know, our sustainability committee's set of comments. So, and I thought I heard you say you haven't acted on them. So where do you incorporate this, and do we need to, Lisa, get a, you know, a full committee endorsement of final set of comments on this plan, which means that, yes, everybody else has to look at the whole thing and look at our set of comments and react to some of ours and maybe tweak these a little differently, whatever. So it feels like there's still a lot of work that we would have to do to make it a formal committee response, sustainability committee response, versus just giving Kelly and others some feedback on specific things that help the understanding of it, or language, or some parts that we felt ought to be added. But it was more of a guidance kind of thing rather than a formal, you know, something coming out of our committee.
Well, let me ask Daphne and Kelly, what are the other committees and commissions doing in terms of their comments? Are they, you know, do we as a committee need to entertain a motion and all vote in favor of adopting these comments or whatever the final set of comments will be as our own? And as you know, the whole committee's comments and forward those on, or can this just be a recommendation from the subcommittee to the full committee? Hey, we put together these comments and we ask you to read through them. I was going to say trust us, but you should read through them and then let us know if you have anything to add. I mean, I do want to follow whatever the process is that the other committees and commissions are doing.
Well, the meetings that I have been a part of, which are several now, have been very different. Public Works went through it for about 2 hours, and we went through like hyphens, periods, spelling. It was very, very detailed. And then other committees just read through it and maybe jotted down a couple overarching themes, like I'd like to see more about trees. And, you know, like it's been all over the place. I mean, I'd say from this document that this is definitely the most thorough, which is nice because it's the Green City section and you're the Sustainability Committee. I would say anything in there that isn't, you know, really controversial, then I'll read and incorporate. And ultimately, it's the Plan Commission who will decide whether or not to adopt these, you know, changes and different things. But if there's anything more controversial, or, you know, if you have a problem with, you know, whole strategies or actions, or feel like there's actions that are completely missing, then those would be things I think we should discuss and get somewhat of a consensus on. In the Conservancy Lands Committee, we went through and they came up with maybe a set of 5 or 6 recommendations, one of which was to add something about using IPM as a pesticide strategy in the Conservancy. You know, that's a policy addition that I hadn't put into it. And so they voted as a committee to, like, they agreed with that consensus, and then they also agreed with coming up with a vague kind of a vague statement about how to broaden management of invasives to a citywide scale rather than just in the Conservancy, but not specify exactly what the strategy would be. So like those were sort of the more meaty policy things that they decided to approve as a committee. And then I have gotten separate email from one member of that committee that just had like a list of more grammar, word changes, that kind of stuff. And we did not go through it item by item. So, I mean, it's up to you. We can go through this item by item, or if as a subgroup, you know, okay, there were like 3 overarching, you know, really big things I think we should discuss, then we can do that.
Well, I think one of the big comments that could fall under policy would be our desire to make sure that the document reflects that we're still working on our sustainable city plan, and that I think this is Dick's comment number 5. Is that the right comment, Dick? Oh, yes. It's expected that the comprehensive plan will need to be updated to ensure goals, recommendations, and directives contained in the approved sustainability plan are incorporated, and that the 2 are congruent in their messaging. And Deb and I both, well, I agreed that they need to be congruent, and I thought this was a way of making it clear that we expect this document to be updated more frequently than every 10 years. If we thought this was our one chance in 10 years to influence it, our comments would be even more extensive.
So Daphne, my question, I'm in the red, and as a sustainability committee, to mention another plan that we have, is that appropriate? I mean, do other committees also have their own plans? And I mean, and they would be listing theirs, and, you know, should it only be this particular plan that we're talking about and not adding in, well, we have this plan and, you know, Public Lands has this plan?
Yeah, so in a lot of other sections, we do reference to a lot of the other city plans,
Okay.
you know, that the city is undertaking. So yeah, we do reference, you know, the public, the Parks and Public Lands plan that they have. We reference a lot of the other ongoing, you know, plans because, you know, we recognize that those plans probably have a lot more to say or a lot more in depth on those specific items, and you know we just kind of reference out to kind of linking the goals together as opposed to, you know, going into more detail. So the fact that, you know, we reference the sustainable city plan in here, I think is a good thing, because then, you know, if people are interested in learning more, they can, you know, go to the sustainable city plan.
Okay. All right. Scratch.
And I just want to add that the reason I wrote that comment, which was my number one, which got bumped down in the, as Lisa added new ones to the top. I just really feel that this whole comprehensive plan, we're entering an age where sustainability is really a key concept. And the older one, well, the one that had been presented, it didn't feel like sustainability, while the word was there used a few times. And Kelly did a good job of getting the Green City section added, which had a lot of sustainability in it. But it felt like that there's a lot that we are going to be addressing in this new plan as we've taken a look at the concepts of all these different sectors like water and tourism and, you know, all that as we were looking at before. And I just felt like whether the other plans have been written or not, that, you know, they could have their opportunity to say, we got a new plan coming and it's going to substantially change the landscape here. I just felt in our case, it is going to be an important document, and we have not really, we don't have the recommendations even to make of what we will include in it. So to write this comprehensive plan, which could stay around for quite a while, even though that has been mentioned that Abby said that if she wants to make it a living document and it would change or be updated. I just felt that specifically stating in there that our committee is working on a new sustainability plan, so that we don't have something in there that we regret that we have to somehow get out or whatever. So by just making the statement that we are updating our sustainability plan, it gives us a little more leverage to insert something which might change the tone of something or the direction of much of this stuff in a sustainability fashion.
I
Yeah, and
had
I
a
think,
comment. Oh, go ahead, Daphne.
oh, I was just going to say, I think that's totally doable, you know, if we could add like a clause in there. I think in Kelly's section, you know, one of the first, like within the first 2 pages, there's like a link to the older sustainable city plan. And, you know, we can just add, you know, some clause at the bottom of that to say, you know, the city is, you know, working on updating for a new plan, and, you know, any of these new, you know, actions that are adopted in that sustainable city plan will be, you know, the city's main focus, or, you know, something like that. I'm sure Kelly can figure out some good phrasing to add to that.
Well, I almost hate to make the link. I mean, we could reference that, you know, when a sustainability plan was created 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, but that there's some things in there that I think we're going to change things a lot. I just have a feeling. And so I almost don't want to put in a new plan, a link to an outdated plan. I mean, we could state that a plan has been done and that is available, but to provide the link to it, then that almost makes it its own updated document just by giving them the link in this new comprehensive plan. That's just my opinion.
If we put our sustainability plan on the city website, as we've done the comp plan, we've put the comp plan on our city website in various stages. So we've had it up there since it was really not fleshed out at all, but people could at least see the process as it was moving along. So we could always link to that working document that then I will update as we get more of the sustainability plan fleshed out, so that when people do link to it, they'll see, okay, it's being rewritten or drafted right now, and this is what they have so far.
My question is there if you have a working document that I like the concept of a working document, but what is realistically that, I think Daphne, you said something about how this is probably we're updating numbers. Like, is it realistic to think that the plan is going to be updated every year, or is it really just going to be that we're going to any numbers we're shooting for get updated?
Are you
Yeah, I
talking
think
about the sustainability plan, Spencer, or are you talking about the comprehensive plan?
The comprehensive plan is talk about getting things updated, is talking about it being updated every year, isn't it?
The comprehensive plan, yeah.
Yeah, but realistically, this has consumed 10 months of the year for the city to do this one. I guess maybe I'm wrong on this one, but it seems like realistically there's going to be some numbers that are updated in it, but I don't think there's going to be drastic policy changes updated in it and on a very frequent basis, but I could be totally wrong on that one.
Right. No, I think, Spencer, you have the right idea, because this plan took us like 5 years to do in itself. So it'll mostly be data stuff that is updated, maybe some mapping. If there is, once we do release a plan, if there is one major strategy or something that the city finds out that we've missed, we would certainly go through the amendment process, but generally every year would probably just be taking a look at the numbers and all of that.
Just to clarify then, I'm grappling with the harmonization hope that we have as far as having the comp plan harmonized in some way with the sustainability plan, and trying to understand how that can be done. Like, would it have to be the amendment process to say, okay, now we have the official sustainability plan, we have our stamp of approval, we got to approve, or is there any precedent for just saying, here's a link to this other plan which totally replaces what's in the comp plan? Or I mean, how can that?
Or that totally replaces what's in the Green City chapter.
City's plan, right.
Yeah, it's like we're writing a sustainable city plan at the same time that we're endorsing a Green City chapter. And if those two don't match up, I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it seems to me that we've been working in silos on the sustainable city plan at the same time that the comp plan process was going forward. And unfortunately, we didn't make that linkage until seeing the document all laid out as a PDF.
Right, exactly.
The sustainability plan is more of our actual guidepost of the things we are actually trying to accomplish, whereas the comprehensive plan is more of the vision. So it's, the comprehensive plan is more of the overarching, and our sustainability plan is the steps we plan to take to accommodate the Green City piece of that, or other pieces of it.
No, that's exactly right, Chris. It should, I mean,
so, but we have 67, there are 67 actions in the Green City chapter. That's pretty detailed. Land use has, I think, 5 or 7 or something like that. 5 or 7 strategies is what land use has. But we have a lot of actions, and that's why I said in the next edition, I strongly recommend we pare down this list, because I envisioned it as the comprehensive plan is comprehensive and contains the vision. There's my little thing. And then, so there's a vision in the comp plan, the strategies and the actions, and then our sustainable city plan would have basically the same vision and the same strategies, but the priorities are what we're setting for maybe a 2 or 3 or 5 year period, whatever the time frame is that we decide on for our sustainable city plan, because we can't do 67 things at once. And then from the priorities, we have the metrics that we're going to use to evaluate our progress, and annually or however frequently we want to check in to see how are we doing. We said we were going to, you know, double the number of shares of solar energy that residents are purchasing. How did we do? But the two, that chapter, Green City chapter, and our sustainable city plan have to be in agreement. They don't have to completely be the same thing, but if they are saying different things, that's, in my opinion, that's a problem.
Right. And that's where I'm raising the question, how do we see to the harmonization? Because the timelines we're dealing with are not in sync. We aren't going to finish the sustainability plan before the comp plan is supposed to be stamped and out the door.
Right. That's a good question.
Well,
I'm
I
noting
think
the time. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, one of the things is that we need the, I guess, the Green City chapter to be, again, overarching enough to we feel comfortable with the overall goals of it without getting too prescriptive. And the land use stuff strikes me as an important section that affects sustainability. And I noticed you have it, Kelly, can you scroll down just a little bit so you can pick up number 6 here? Yeah. The problem is with this comprehensive plan, again, sustainability in my mind is not fully addressed in a lot of the sections, and some are much more germane than others. And we can't do anything about it, but we don't want to get too prescriptive, I would think, in the Green City section, because we might have different recommendations or priorities than what was written now, if we allow it to be such a prescriptive document. So, and basically you're just going to have to take what you've got and take some of our comments and make it work. And I don't, you know, we'll worry about the congruence later, as long as we have the caveat in here, which I think we've agreed to, that we're letting people know, hey, we're coming up with a new sustainability plan and it could change things. And so don't get too hung up on a few things that are included in the comprehensive plan related to the Green City chapter or comprehensive, sustainability issues that we might want to tweak or change or reprioritize.
Well, and here's my concern, though. I mean, I agree with the issue you're raising, Dick, and that we need to figure out a way to address it. But what I heard Daphne say is that the Plan Commission approves the plan, and then it's the plan. And so how do we, is there a mechanism that allows for what we're talking about, where we say, well, the Plan Commission's approved the plan, but now we come along and we say, here's our updates. We want to get these incorporated by addendum or by reference or by something. I mean, is there a plan or a system in place to accommodate that? And if not, how do we make sure there is one so we don't end up regretting anything down the line?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like the sustainable city plan is, you know, it's been in the works and it is in the works. So whenever that is adopted, you know, if it's in a year or 2 years, you know, the next time, you know, as we review our document yearly, you know, that could just be, you know, I think like the sustainability committee can make, you know, a referral to Plan Commission and say, you know, we have this updated sustainable city plan, and we would like to make these, you know, amendments or changes to the Green City chapter. I think that's definitely something that can happen. Like that would be the step-by-step process to get that, you know, fixed, or, you know, however you guys would want to see that done.
So I got a recommendation. How about, Kelly, you take whatever comments we've already made, our subgroup, and you incorporate them in the Green City chapter, and you send it back to our sustainability committee, and let the whole committee look at it so that we can vote on this at our November meeting. and pass basically a recommendation that the things that have been incorporated into the comprehensive plan are okay with us, recognizing that we're going to be working on the sustainability plan. And Daphne, I just say, even though we've been working at this for a while, I think we decided, and Lisa will have to be the one to maybe speak on this, that this is going to be a lot bigger amount of work to really make it right than just tweaking what we had before. So, we're not going to come up with a sustainability plan by winter. So we're going to have to get the comprehensive plan in a state that we can live with, because the sustainability plan is just not going to be ready in time to influence, specific recommendations that would be made in the comprehensive plan.
And
Yeah,
at the same time, I will note that given my review of the comprehensive plan, I am overall delighted and impressed with all the positive sustainability congruent policies, strategies, actions that are included. And I think, there's very little that I would say, oh, no, they can't do that. It's more like, okay, this is great. How do we make sure, though, that we roll it out, make it happen, implement it, and resolve some of the redundancies, and I saw potential for incongruities, but those are relatively small, at least at my first pass. So on the plus side, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of painful disconnect between the sustainability plan and the comp plan. At the same time, there could be, because we haven't gotten the sustainability plan done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, our subgroup talked about, like Dick was saying, we would have a lot more to comment on the comp plan if we didn't understand the opportunity costs of doing so. We don't have hours and hours and hours to spend grappling with this. As much as we feel it's important, the committee has other things that we want to be able to get to, and taking hours of our time to tweak here and there and rewrite chunks of the comp plan is just not something we can spend the time doing. So when Kelly had mentioned this opportunity to not wait 10 years to have another shot at updating the plan, we jumped at it. And I like the idea of, you see the comments that the three of us at least put together for the non-Green City chapters, for the other chapters, and you can use those if they're helpful. I still am a little surprised to see that there wasn't an entire chapter on water, given the significant impact of the flood 2 years ago. But there you have it. If we can come back in a year or two with our completed sustainable city plan, and I don't know if we have to petition or just request that Green City chapter get updated to reflect what we have put now in our sustainable city plan, I think that is a good solution. And I think that, Dick, is that where you were going?
Well, I was talking more immediate. I was thinking that in order to get, I was hearing that we needed a committee approval of recommending that we've made changes or recommendations to the comprehensive plan. And so I was just suggesting in the shorter term that Kelly make whatever changes to the chapters we talked about and give it back to us. If she could do that within a couple weeks, then we would have 2 weeks to read over the updated version of the Green City chapter and maybe any other recommendations that we have noted. And then as a draft, at least then we can vote on this as a sustainability committee, that these are our recommendations, because it's not fair to the rest of the committee members that they haven't seen our comments until tonight right now. And in fact, I haven't even read yours yet, Lisa. So I just feel somehow, I guess I'm hearing that the process requires our sustainability committee to sign off on the comprehensive plan. And somehow we have to get that done, you know, in a timely manner. And how can we vote on something even tonight when nobody's read our comments and they may have other comments of their own? Kermit certainly has
Right.
read it, and so that's what I'm recommending on the short term. And then your other point about, well, if when we finish our sustainability plan and we feel that there's updates that need to be made to the comprehensive plan, we could make a recommendation to the Planning Commission, since they're talking about making it a living document in some sense, even though there's realistically we're not going to change it. But if there are some overarching goals that need to be incorporated that we feel strongly about, and our sustainability plan has been approved by the city, then we would want to see those updated. But I think that's down the road. My recommendation is in the short term here about how do we get this out of our recommendation out of our own committee. Because quite frankly, like you said, I don't want to be bogged down with this comprehensive plan. We've got a whole lot of work to do on our own sustainability plan. And that's where the rubber reaches the road, hits the road as far as this stuff.
Kelly, is it doable for you to incorporate the comments that you think can be incorporated into the Green City chapter and get that section out to us?
Well, first of all, I want to check with Daphne what the timeline is, because I don't know what's in the process possible to.
Well, because what I was going to suggest is, would we have an opportunity in, say, 2 weeks to meet briefly to go over the comments and possibly even this item 6 on the agenda? I don't know if that one needed to be settled tonight, but could we have a special committee meeting in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks to resolve this issue with the comp plan comments and then possibly the operating budget?
What about if, like, we can do that? The Conservancy Lands Committee felt that it was such a long document, they wanted more time, so they had a special session, and we could definitely do that. We were planning to take the comments to the Planning Commission on October 26th, I believe, on a Tuesday. So
I think it's the 27th.
27th, okay. So if we could meet before that, that would be the best. I'm just thinking out loud off the cuff, like I haven't thought about it. I'm thinking like this is a lot to edit into the Green City chapter. I'm feeling a bit nervous, but I can try to get it in there. And we also have like, I think I have comments from 6 other committees on this chapter as well, which they're not nearly as extensive. So it won't, it's just, I'll try to do it. Can we meet as far out as we possibly can before the 27th? Like maybe the 20, could we even do it the 26th, do you think, Daphne? Like approve the comments and then, well, no, because we need to get it into the Plan Commission packet probably on the Thursday before the Plan Commission meeting, right? Is that right, Daphne?
Yeah, we usually get the packet out like Friday, so that would be the 23rd. So it would be this Friday is when we would get our packet
I
out.
don't think that's doable.
There's no time.
Well, here's my concern. I mean, basically, we're not going to have time as a committee to formally go over this unless, Lisa, you give the rest of the committee members that care about this or have the time, I'll say care, everybody cares, it's a matter of time, to read over the section that was sent out before, take our comments and see if they agree with them or not. And then maybe, I don't know, can we do some kind of vote as a committee, or do we just say this is recommendations that came out of the committee, but we have not had a time to actually make a formal set of recommendations.
Kermit, you're shaking your head.
I'm just, the timeline just doesn't seem viable. And so Chris goes through and she says, I like comment 5, but not comment 3. And I go through and I say, well, I think exactly opposite. And then how do we resolve that? To arrive at a consensus? I mean, I'm just, seeing us between a rock and a hard place in terms of the timeline and what we would like to see happen. And I'm trying to think of a better way or some way to do it, but I'm not seeing it.
This is Katie. I would like to ask if we can trust the staff. These guys know what they're talking about.
You mean okay the comments and have me go through and edit
Well,
the
just
comments in?
I'm sorry. I just trust you to have written a really good document, and I don't know that it needs a whole bunch of editing, in my opinion. So maybe I'm wrong.
So
I mean, you've worked really hard on it, and I just feel like I don't know.
Well, that almost sounds, Katie, like you're suggesting that we didn't need to put together comments. And I think Dick and Deb and I all felt like the chapter and the plan itself did need some improvement, and devoted a lot of hours to reading through it and preparing the comments. And I want to make sure that they're useful to the staff that will be making revisions. I mean, certainly other committees have submitted comments as well. I would like to make sure.
I feel like we're just spinning in the mud right now.
Well, how about this?
I would make a motion to, on behalf of the subcommittee, to recommend that the committee adopt the comments that Dick and Deb and I put together, and trust Kelly with incorporating them.
Well, how about to consider rather than adopt? I mean, maybe there may be some inconsistencies of what we've written, but to make a motion that Kelly attempt to incorporate, or Kelly tries to incorporate the comments that the three of us put together, and that given the timeline, we have not had a chance for our full committee to come to a consensus on every little thing.
That's a long motion.
Yeah.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Yeah, well, say that we make a motion that that Kelly incorporate as best as possible the comments made by the three of us, you know, as representative, as input from sustainability committee members.
Kelly, did you get that motion from Dick?
That way it's clear that we're not passing a formal committee recommendation, because the full committee, unless they're comfortable, but they have not had a chance to read over our comments and see how they fit with what's actually in the comprehensive plan. Well, maybe somebody has, but probably most people haven't.
So my Kelly, motion. Can you read Dick's motion?
Yeah, I don't really have it. I said to make a motion to incorporate comments with staff discretion, the comments that were provided by Dick and Lisa and Deb.
From the Sustainability Committee.
From the Sustainability Committee.
So Dick moves to direct staff to, at her discretion, incorporate the comments submitted by the subcommittee.
Yeah, let's call it a subcommittee.
Yeah.
On behalf of the committee? Or as representatives of the committee?
The ad hoc subcommittee of the Sustainability Committee.
Okay. One more time. Kelly, if you've got it.
Could you, there were several people speaking. Would you mind saying it again? And my child's at the door, so I'm having a hard time.
Okay, sorry. Dick moved to direct staff
Okay.
to incorporate, using her discretion, the comments submitted by the ad hoc subcommittee of the Sustainability Committee. So that makes it clear that it was a subcommittee that did it. It doesn't say the comments are on behalf of the committee or from the whole committee. And it gives you the discretion to take the comments on our chapter and incorporate those. And I'm hoping that the first chunk of comments on the overall plan will be shared with the appropriate authors of those chapters. That's not part of the motion, sorry.
Okay, before you vote on that, or there's just one other option I could bring up, is that I could send these comments out now, and then we could meet, just us, 5 of you for a quorum, could meet on Wednesday, by next Wednesday, and just approve the comments. And then that's enough for Plan Commission. Because I will.
When you say the 21st for next Wednesday?
Isn't the Plan Commission?
It's the
Tuesday?
27th. It's the 27th.
Which is a week from Wednesday or Tuesday.
And we would need to put the packet out on Thursday of next week.
No.
Thursday of this week.
Thursday of
It's
this week?
yeah.
This is the 19th. Wednesday would be the 21st.
So then that gets us into the problem that Kermit identified of, what if somebody doesn't like, I mean, there's enough, I didn't see anything, well, and maybe I don't see my own comments as objectionable, but there's nothing, earth-shattering in there. It's just pointing out, maybe think about this, and my comment about why isn't there a water chapter? It just seems like water is so important, it deserves its own chapter, but I mean, they can take those comments or leave them. And trying to figure out what are the really key policy related comments. I mean, I had one in there about and this isn't even in our chapter, but I think it was transportation had a reference to single occupancy vehicles, whereas later, like reducing the reliance on single occupancy vehicles, whereas they also talked about increasing the use of, POVs? I forget what the smart cars and things like that. And it seemed like maybe it was gasoline powered vehicles that they were talking about, or should have been talking about, instead of just the single occupancy. But anyway, I think the 3 of us were tapped to do the job that we did because the other members of the committee trusted us to do it. So with that, I would second Dick's motion. Any discussion?
Can we have the motion reiterated one more time then?
Kelly, do you have it?
Dick makes Lathrop motions to direct staff to incorporate, using staff discretion, the comments from the ad hoc subcommittee of the Sustainability Committee into the comp plan.
Okay.
All right. If there's no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying, well, actually, we should probably raise our hands at this point.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I second it.
Lisa.
Okay, well, Deb
sorry.
second.
Good. I just wanted to make sure.
No, that's right. All right.
You could be a third, Kermit. You want to be a third?
I'll be a third. I'm just making sure. I
Yeah,
don't care.
let's get Kermit listed here.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the ayes have it.
Great.
All right,
Thanks.
so we
Thanks for
don't
the
have to have a
discussion.
second meeting, but we still do have the Sustainability Committee operating budget discussion. Is that something that needs to be settled today, Kelly, or can we postpone that until November?
We have a piece of it which we should do tonight. I think just to allow. I think that we have some visitors on the meeting from the schools. Let me just switch my screen, then I'll be able to talk.
Okay.
Let's see.
And Kelly, do please still send the comments out to the full committee, if you could.
Yeah, I will.
And I see that's Elena who gave the really excellent presentation the other night. And Elena, I did get your email. I promise I will read it and get back to you as soon as I can, sometime this week. I promise.
No problem. By the way, usually the Wi-Fi is pretty bad with the Chromebook that I'm using, so if you guys can't hear us,
You're
cutting in and out.
You're cutting in and out. I can't hear you.
Maybe Elena, I was just gonna say, yeah, get rid of your video.
Is it zero?
So,
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
That sounded better.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry,
Nope.
Elena. It's breaking up really badly. Kelly, do you know what the item is?
Okay.
If I could just start, Elena, can I just start just for a second to introduce you guys?
And do we want to share the phone number?
The phone number?
Isn't there
so
a
they
phone
can
number?
call in.
Oh, the phone number would be
312
okay.
626 6799.
Can you put it in the chat maybe?
Could you repeat that really fast?
Yes, it's 312
Actually,
626.
is it working now?
A little. It's better.
Nope. Kelly, I don't usually call into Zoom. Do they need a meeting ID or password or anything?
We're going to try and find it.
Yeah, they will. They'll need the meeting password and
Yeah, I'm trying to get that.
Oh, Kermit's on it. Okay, so
I'm
Kelly, while
trying
they're
to
trying to call
get
in,
that.
all right. So for the operating budget, I'm having I'm gonna maybe, so for the operating, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but we're getting some weird feedback.
Yeah.
I'll put myself on.
So anyway, for the operating budget, we have just a little bit over $8,000 left in our operating budget for the year. I'm having a bit of time focusing on which things to try to get quotes on, and it's a lot to work on to try to come up with projects that require quotes this soon before year's end and approve larger projects like website redevelopment or branding development. But one thing that crossed our table just recently are the two students who are on the call, Elena and Molly. They are high school students at Middleton, and they're devising a tutoring program for elementary school children in Middleton to help with, during COVID, to help tutor the young kids for up to 2 hours per day. And they've secured a space in a strip mall on Allen Boulevard, and are able to rent that space out. And they have a business plan, and they have waivers created about to meet public health standards for having, you know, a certain number of people in a room at one time. Like, they've thought through a lot of the of how to go about doing this. And they've gotten some funding already from Findorf, offered $1,500 to cover 1 month's rent. And so they're doing outreach right now to look for additional funding to help get the tutoring program off the ground quickly, to provide some extra help to students who need it. And they're prioritizing students who are on the free lunch or reduced lunch fees, but it's going to be open to others as well if children and families feel like their kids really need it. I think that they've been working on sustainability initiatives in other ways for the school and are really organized, and the city's excited to hear about it. There is a potential that they might be able to use the Lakeview Park Shelter for free as their space, but they might have some conflicting times with the youth center, which is already using it for similar things and for some of their programming. So they're still weighing and measuring whether to use Lakeview Park Shelter or this other space that they'd like to rent. So they were going to make a pitch to the Sustainability Committee, just give a kind of a 3-minute overview of what they're thinking about with more details. So I think there's still a few unknowns, but I just wanted to give them a chance to talk about this opportunity, since we have money left in our budget, and put that as a possibility. Are Elena or
thank
Molly?
you so much.
Oh, good.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, that's great.
Much better.
Okay, great.
All right, much
Perfect.
better.
Thank
And you can turn your video on too, I think, if you're still connected, so we can see you while
Okay,
you're.
let's see. Okay, hang on 1 second.
Sorry, I didn't know you guys were there. I thought like we'd lost you, so I was just trying to.
No, it's okay. Thank you for the intro. It's helpful, actually. Okay, if anything comes up, we have the computer muted, so we can't hear anything through the computer, but we can hear you guys through the phone. So kind of using 2 right now. Hopefully this ends up working, but thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, like Kelly was saying, we're starting this tutoring program for elementary school students in the district, primarily Sauk Trail Elementary and Northside Elementary. And Elm Lawn Elementary. Yeah, but mostly Sauk Trail. And so it's just really cool opportunity to bring people in the community together, provide leadership and volunteer opportunities for high school students, and to just involve other organizations like Middleton Outreach Ministry or Goodwill or other organizations in the community to partner together to form like this equity program to really support the students and families in the area during online schooling. So we're really excited about the idea. We've been getting a lot of support from different community members, from students, from teachers, from a couple, actually Perry Hibner. I don't know if you guys have all watched the video where I recently presented or not, but Perry Hibner mentioned that he's been helping us with the communications portion of the entire project, and he's been fantastic. So we've also, like Kelly mentioned, we've been connecting with an individual from Findorf to get funding support. We submitted a grant application to the Educational Foundation, and we'll be hearing back from them about the results from that, I believe on the 21st, so in a couple days. And other than that, we're looking at, we established a GoFundMe. That's another piece of it. We've been getting materials from different locations, and we're pursuing this location on Allen Boulevard it's fantastic. So we're very excited. Are there any questions right off the bat, or we can continue with our pitch?
Is there any specific connection to the sustainability issue beyond equity and
So we were pointed in your direction by Abby Atune. So she said that there's a certain part of your budget that is reserved for equity initiatives. So that definitely is the primary reason why we're connecting with you guys. But however, I think there's also a lot about our project mission that really targets the goals and mission behind the Sustainability Committee as well. So like I mentioned, we're planning on partnering with Middleton Outreach Ministry and Goodwill, and both of those organizations support initiatives and a mindset against things like fast fashion and just reusing, helping the community, empowering our youth. So through that sense, we definitely support the same values that the Sustainability Committee does. So we want to reach out to you guys for that support as well. Yeah, it's a good question, actually. Thank you. Are there any other questions right off the bat?
So, Elaine, are you saying that the rent is $1,500 each month?
Yeah, so Jen, actually, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah,
Sorry.
so it's $1,500 a month, not including utilities. So there's like also the added charge. And that's actually cut in half from the original price of this place. They're trying to give us like a good deal because they think what we're doing is good for the community. So it is pretty expensive, but we've been reaching out, as we said, to a lot of different places to receive funding. And we were hoping to get some from you guys so we could try to get this program off the ground as soon as possible and help the kids that are struggling in online school.
So is this a temporary plan until the schools reopen and you can use a free space once schools are back, you know, face to face?
Yeah, we're not exactly sure what it's going to look like after online school is, like after we're back to in-person school, but we definitely consider moving to a new place after that. But right now we think our best option, since we haven't really heard much from Lakeview about if we could use their space and how much that would cost, we think our best option would be the space that we are looking at on Allen Boulevard.
There are also a lot of great opportunities through that space, and just that it just forms very good community partnerships, and it's a very central location, as is Lakeview. But I know there's some scheduling conflicts between, I think, the Youth Commission and the hours that NCAT would be able to operate with the schedules for high school volunteers. So we're still trying to figure out those logistics. We actually attended a Youth Commission meeting and discussed our initiative there, and they were very supportive. But as far as the scheduling conflicts, we're still trying to work out the kinks in that plan if we were to go in the Lakeview direction. So as of right now, we're really trying to pursue the Allen Boulevard location.
Okay, but this is a regular tutoring program. You guys aren't teaching them about will, recycle, reuse, etc. You're if they need math help, that's what you're doing. Reading help, etc. You really aren't teaching sustainability. You are helping them with their schoolwork, whatever they need. Is that correct?
I think the cool thing about NCAT is that the base of the entire program is, yes, that tutoring. But the cool thing about what we're doing is that we're trying to bring in more organizations and more initiatives to layer on top of that and provide more opportunities for the students who are participating. So, I mean, for example, we're looking into partnering with the library to have a book, kind of like a free library location, but just a book swap, or checking out books through the library, or having book donations and such. So, and bringing in more reading into the kids' education. Or we also anticipate having tutor-run special events or little programs that, like today will be blank day, and then there's this special event that correlates with that theme for the day. And so there's definitely sustainability initiatives that we could be pursuing through that, through NCAT. NCAT is kind of like this opportunity to create a hub from which other initiatives are located.
Yeah, I would also say, since we're both on Green Team at the high school, we could also like partner with that club. I feel like that'd be a really great way to kind of incorporate some sustainability concepts into what the kids are learning about when they're at NCAT. But we'd have to like talk about that and figure out what that would look like.
Okay. And how much money are you looking for? I mean, what are you Overall, not just from us, but overall, how much money do you need to get this program going?
So I guess, so let me just lay out the costs that we know of so far. So we have the $1,500 per month for rent. There's a 3-month rent minimum. So then including, on top of that, we have the cost of installing Wi-Fi and the cost of monthly utilities. So all of that rounds off to be a little bit less than $6,000. So
$6,000 for 3 months?
Yeah, for 3 months. And that is with the Allen Boulevard location. So we applied for $2,000+ from the Educational Foundation. Findorf is most likely going to be covering a month of rent, so the $1,500. And then Abby Atune was mentioning some other opportunities for funding through the city.
Yeah, we also have the GoFundMe page that we're working. We set up a social media site, so we're trying to spread the word that way as well. Yeah, we're still waiting to hear back on a lot of things, but we have a lot of things in the works to try to get the funding that we need.
Yeah, there's additional opportunities to reach out to journalists and spread the word about the GoFundMe. And so as with all startups, similar businesses or organizations, there's a lot up in the air right now, but we're reaching out to a lot of locations and opportunities to really get the program off of its feet.
I guess I should just plunge in here and say, given the COVID-19 situation, if, as I'm understanding, you're talking about having in-person tutoring with children, I have serious misgivings, especially in light of the current surge that we're seeing in Dane County. In particular, I'm kind of finding myself wondering, well, if this is a good idea, rather than having to pay for additional leased space and Wi-Fi, why can't it be in a school building? But they don't want people to come to the school building for the most part,
right,
because of health concerns. And if the school district is judging based on the best medical and scientific input they're getting that it's not time for kids to be coming into the school, then I would be very hesitant to facilitate congregating children together with teenagers during a COVID-19 pandemic.
Right. So we do have a lot of safety protocols in place, including like face shields, masks, 6 feet apart for all students. And we are also going to have a virtual option for kids who don't want to come in, because we totally understand that that is not something that everyone is like comfortable with doing. So we're going to have both options available to students. So it's not like you have to come in to receive help. We don't know how popular with like the in-person option will be, but we'd like to pursue it because we've heard from a lot of elementary school teachers that it's really hard for kids to learn online, and it's much easier for them to learn like with someone there helping them like in person and guiding them that way. But obviously we will have the other option available as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of about it's about giving people the opportunity in the most COVID conscious way possible to have in-person tutoring. I'm not sure if we shared the safety protocol document that we created with you, Kelly. There's a lot of documents, so I'm not sure if all of them made their way to you, but we can go ahead and try and share that right now. But and then of course we also totally understand your hesitance with this program being run by teenagers, and that's a totally valid concern. But we the tutors that are applying for this program and the leadership team that we're building for NCAT is fully vetted, and we really trust these kids. So as far as that concern, I guess just what I would say is that we trust the kids, and we would only have the most qualified kids being tutors and organizing the event.
And for what it's worth, I don't think Kermit, I don't think he meant to create the impression that he doesn't have confidence in teenagers being able to do this. It's
Right.
It's more
it's more
the
just
help.
getting the physical presence
Yeah.
together of different ages, period. I mean, whenever you get more
Right.
than, so.
Yeah,
We definitely understand that concern for sure. We're doing our best to address it in both the in-person way and with the online options that we have.
Dick, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have to say I concur a lot with Kermit on this. I'm just afraid of the liability of any program that we would do where we're going into a surge. Dane County and the state's COVID rates are going way up, and 1,500 is a lot of money. You're getting a discount on commercial space, but it feels like, first of all, there ought to be places. If the school district felt this was important, and I really get it, and I applaud you young ladies for wanting to get this program off the ground. I know for your credits for helping out, volunteer credits. I just worry that if we're promoting somebody having young kids come, and yes, they separate 6 feet, you've got face shields or some kind of, whatever the safety features are, but if somebody gets sick, this is serious. And I just feel like that the school board or the school district is not promoting it. They're not providing space. My God, like Kermit says, they have all kinds of empty classrooms. They could, even at the Clark Street School, they could find a space in there that would probably be more isolated and they could keep clean. If the school district really felt this was important, they could provide the space somewhere, or one of the elementary schools. And I'm not against giving you money or voting for that, but I just feel like that this, I don't see how in-person learning, when the school district is not doing it and the whole county is not doing it and the university is not doing it and Madison College is not doing it, how we could possibly endorse a program that is going to try doing it. And so if you could come up with a an online or a virtual tutor thing, that would be something quite different. But I don't know. I just my gut reaction, and I kind of follow Kermit's concerns. And
Yeah.
And I agree with those concerns. I think, Dick, you said if the school district thought this was important, I think it's important. And I'm sure the school district thinks this is important.
Exactly.
I think they probably consider it not feasible because of the health concerns. So I want to make that clear to Elena and Molly that, this is critical. And it is critical that, it's wonderful that you're stepping up to do this. And I was thinking along the same lines as Dick about, because I'm trying to also figure out how to connect this, really connect this to sustainability. And I'm looking at the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has, and there's quality education and reduced inequalities, and good health and well-being. And, these are things that we can tie to what you all are proposing to do. And I would suggest that you think about, is there a way to do this? Like maybe the funding that you need is to get, the best internet connection available at the places where students are going to be doing the tutoring, and have some sort of virtual small group one-on-one tutoring that you could do. And maybe, Kelly is very interested in making sure that we're able to involve a much more diverse community in our public meetings, both this one and then also others that will be coming up. And she has talked about, could we provide childcare in this case? But, maybe there's a way for you all to gather students and have a conversation, while at the same time encouraging parents to log in from a different device and pay attention to our meeting. Or maybe we can tap you all to help with educating students about sustainability or the environment. If there's a reading assignment, for example, that you can steer them towards some books that are on environmental education reading lists, things like that. So I guess I would encourage you to think about a different business model that involves, right now at least, the virtual, and think ahead to how you can take that virtual into the schools and get free space, especially if you've already demonstrated what you all are doing is working and helping these children. Then I can't imagine why the school district wouldn't want to try to give you some free space after school, or even during school as part of a class, to continue this in person once we're all able to gather, and not be so socially distant.
Well, I did want to mention, did mention one thing about the city is meeting with the school district to discuss this project, not until August 27th, I believe, or October, I'm sorry. We were going to meet last week, but they had to cancel, so they pushed it out by a week or a week and a half, or I guess 2 weeks. So I think they are interested in it. They're just they want to look at it through the public health lens, and also they want to talk to the school social workers to see what the needs are of the elementary school children, because just from what I know, the youth center is doing this work. They're having in-person tutoring sessions and programming with certain kids at Lakeview Shelter, or they will be, but they're doing it now other places. But there are a lot of kids who are slipping through the cracks as far as they're home alone completely. Like I don't, it's not just a program, I think, for, like kids like my kids who have two parents home all the time, but it might meet a need that, even though it's not ideal, is actually necessary for some kids. So just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate there.
And I think we mentioned in the document that this was targeted towards low income kids in need, and many of them may not have access to the internet and computers. So so there's challenges by doing it remotely, even though we're talking about this may be a better from a health point of view. So this is a huge challenge, and I could applaud you for really wanting to work on it. And if the fact that the city's meeting with the school district about this in a week and a half or so, and how soon were you looking for a commitment? I mean, if we could have a chance to get more information on this, and so we could discuss it at our November meeting, that would be easier to vote on, some aid recommendation rather than just tonight.
I agree. Yeah, if we could see a proposal, understand what your time frame is, and then get some information after the city and the district meet, just to let us know what came of that meeting, that would be excellent. Because I think you're hearing, Elena and Molly, that the members completely support what you're doing, what you want to do, and it's just really admirable for, especially when I was your age, I was not thinking as civic mindedly as you two are, and it's just amazing. I'm always amazed, like with Daphne on this committee, that type of awareness and commitment when you're a teenager, I think is just phenomenal. But I think,
thank you.
Yeah, we need to think about how best to help you with this opportunity, and knowing what our city is doing and what the school district is going to do, and also having a something in like your prospectus or whatever to review we could revisit this at the November meeting, that would be great. I will also note, in case you haven't seen it, there is a message to you in the chat from Carol and Andy Phelps to contact them about, email them about funding. So make sure you.
Okay, thank you.
That. Yeah, make
The
sure.
one-
you
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
one
we
thing-
so one thing that okay, I'm sorry. One thing we want to point out is that you guys are totally correct. There really is no perfect solution to this issue. I guess the mindset that we have for the NCAT mission is to strike a balance as best we can. So providing a hybrid option for students to kind of complement what the school is providing in the most socially distanced way possible with, I mean, as far as the COVID measures that we would be taking, we would take everyone's forehead temperature before they enter, track every person who's entering and exiting the building, clean all the surfaces between each shift, face masks and face shields for the tutors, face masks for the students, providing, the students have to provide their own materials. There will be some materials offered, potentially the library books. So there's definitely an extensive COVID prevention policy or protocol that we're working on and trying to use the recommendations from Public Health Dane, but we totally understand your hesitance for sure. And I guess we're still trying to work through the kinks of how to really strike that balance in the best way possible, but this program really is structured for those who are being left behind, especially since now we know that the schools won't be opening for a long time. And there are a lot of students who, especially in the area that the property is, or at least the Allen Boulevard property is, then there are a lot of students within walking distance, so their parents wouldn't have to transport them. And a lot of students just need as much support, encouragement, and mentoring as possible. So we are trying to get this program running as soon as possible. So as far as moving things to the November meeting, we'll try and work on producing as much content as possible for you guys. Yeah, we'll see how the meeting goes with the school board. But as soon as possible, if you guys are hesitant and everything, then we totally understand. But since the students need as much support as possible right now, and in order to solidify the building and establish the space itself, then we do need funding support as quickly as possible. So just wanted to make those couple points.
Yeah, and that's where I hope working with the school district will perhaps crack open some resource possibilities there. I mean, if there's a safe way to do it, given the school district's vested interest in seeing students succeed, it seems like they would be interested in harnessing the creative energy that you're bringing to this and the volunteers you're willing to corral into this effort without having to spend all that extra money for new spaces and new Wi-Fi when it's already there in the school buildings. You just need to find a safe way to access it. And if there isn't a safe way, then I think we need to acknowledge that.
Hey guys, can you tell me how many square feet in that Allen Boulevard building?
What did you say?
You know how many square feet you guys are looking at in that Allen Boulevard building?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think, was it like 90 back and like? Yeah, it's like 90 by 20, and then there's a little bit of, I think it's about 90 by 20.
Yeah, one of the things is though, we aren't anticipating having a lot of like kids in the room with us. We're thinking 10 at the most, because that goes along with Dane County's health recommendations for COVID, obviously. And so we would be able to maintain social distancing pretty well with the amount of space that we have, which is something that the schools wouldn't necessarily be able to do if they were open, because they'd have more kids in the room. So it's like harder for them to implement the same
safety protocols that we're able to do.
Yeah, so it
Right.
is a different situation in comparison between NCAT and the school. So there are a different amount of variables to consider that just vary between NCAT and the schools. So one thing that's important to consider.
So one question I wanted to bring up, or one thing I wanted to bring up to the committee is, if I remember right, the budget ends at the end of December, and the money needs to be used by the end of December. So I'd want to make sure that however we help this group is something that we can actually get the money spent before the end of the year. So for example, if this doesn't open till January, we can't give money now for them for budget, for rent for next year. So it might be helpful, Elena and Molly, when you come back to us, are there some things that you would need if this moves forward? Are there things, physical things you need before the end of the year that if we decide to put in some money that we'd actually be able to spend before then?
Okay.
I guess one last comment. When you're talking about the free space at school, there are a lot of classrooms that would add up to maybe 1,800 square feet. But the other thing is, it seems to me those two schools are in a safer area in terms of walking to them than Allen Boulevard. Allen Boulevard is a pretty busy road for little kids to be hiking to this space, in my mind. So there's those considerations too.
Well, they technically wouldn't be crossing any streets. There's I guess, do you guys know of the strip mall that has Ace Hardware in it? It's across from Harbor, so it's right next to Ace Hardware, next to H&R Block. So they would have to go beside the parking lot, but they wouldn't have to actually cross the street. But you're right, that it is a busy area.
Okay,
Just
well, go ahead, Kermit.
I was just going to say, just a point of information, it's 9 o'clock or a little after.
No. Well, I was just going to say, so we'll put this on the agenda for November, Kelly. Okay, all right. And thank you again, Elena and Molly, for presenting tonight and for what you're trying to do. I wish you the best of luck talking to other funders as well, and good luck with the meeting with the city and the school district, and share the GoFundMe page with me, and I can pass it on to the other members of the committee.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for inviting us to this meeting and letting us share ideas with you.
Yeah, sorry we're extending the meeting a bit past what it's supposed to be, but we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right,
Yeah, thank
members,
you.
do I hear a motion from Kermit to?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn signify by saying aye.
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 Or bye.
Aye and bye.
Those opposed? All right. Okay, we'll see you in a month, everyone. And don't forget to vote.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.